And we are live. Okay. Well, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a feeling this is a very confusing topic. I don't know if I promoted it or presented it the right way. I called it homeownership preservation funds, and Courtney threw out an HAF, which might be homebuyer assistant funds. So what we're talking about is the federal government allocated. Today, we're specifically talking about only a little $10 billion chunk of funds that were allocated to help consumers, I believe, preserve home ownership as they're coming out of forbearance or through kind of the COVID-19 thing. From what I understand, and I think next week we're going to broaden that and we're going to talk about the entire 350 billion that's available. But today we're just going to tackle a very small chunk. And this came from a conversation that I had with Eric earlier on in the week. Both Eric and Courtney are kind of on the ground in certain different capacities, talking to the entities, I guess, that are responsible for receiving and distributing this money or making it available to consumers. And as we started talking about it, it got really scary really fast, and it seems like it's not as available as it should be. But it sounded like there was also some ways that consumers can kind of track down some of this money. And through our continued efforts through America's Homeownership Alliance, we can even put some pressure on some of these entities with all of our collective voices and make it easier to find these funds. So we are really I'm going to turn this over to Eric and Courtney, the professionals, and I'm just going to be quiet. Courtney, you let me know when you want to. Actually, I think you're going to have to share your screen again, and then I can put it up and you can go through it. So Eric, do you want to kind of start on what started our conversation?
Sure, Scott, thank you. So there, within the last round of spending, there was a lot of money that was allocated to help renters and to help families with mortgages, homeowners. So maybe you've seen something about these programs in the news or heard about them on your local news. I live in Washington, D.C., and it's actually been on the local news several times where they've talked about these programs. So maybe you've heard about that. We, for purposes of the conversation, are going to focus on the home ownership programs. So what this is about is dollars have been allocated to all 50 states to be able to create a program to help families who had to take out a forbearance in 2020 or maybe parts of 2021. So here are some really high-level bullets about the program. HAF is in Homeowners Assistance Fund, so you might see that acronym out there. For instance, it might say, the Rhode Island HAF program, or the Iowa HAF program. That is what they would be referring to. So we have here on the left HHF versus HAF versus the CARE Act. So those are kind of all the acronyms and all the kind of different things going on there. And you don't really need to get into that or worry about that. What you really want to focus on here is the right-hand side of the page. So how much money went out to the states? $9.6 billion. So this money will go out with different amounts attached to the states. So what they did was basically kind of a financial qualification where they looked at a lot of different data, including things like unemployment or foreclosure rates or families who are in forbearances, and they allocated an amount of money for each state. You can actually see how much your state is getting on the Treasury HAF landing page, where they list all the states in a really nice grid. And you could look and see how much money your state is going to get. So anyway, the state has this money and they have to develop a program. The program is to help families who are in a forbearance or had hardships above and beyond sort of normal course of action due to COVID. All right. So the Homeowners Assistance Fund is there to prevent delinquencies and defaults, foreclosures, loss of utilities, or home energy services and displacement of homeowners experience financial hardships after January 21st of 2020. So what you can imagine is the states will come up with a program, and it could be a series of programs in your state, and you could possibly apply for all of them. But states will develop a program. It'll be managed centrally there through maybe a website or maybe through certain partners that they promote. And you'll basically do an application for the program. You will have to prove hardship. And what I mean by that is, what was your challenge? Was it because of job loss? Was it because of COVID? Somebody in the family was sick and there were unexpected medical costs. There's a lot of different reasons people could have suffered unduly, but you will have to prove hardship somewhere along the lines. Anyway, the programs could include mortgage payment assistance, could also include possibly a reinstatement on your insurance. So maybe you own your home. You're a senior citizen, you own your home, and I was not able to pay my insurance for various reasons last year, and now I'm in trouble. You could get some assistance on that. Utility payments would be another one. And sometimes there's special purposes. And what I mean by that is there's something unique to that state, a sort of a unique program. And you can imagine states will have that. And there's not going to be one solution for everybody. It's going to be a lot of different solutions for a lot of different people. Okay. The law prioritizes funds for homeowners who have experienced the greatest hardships. And so each state is going to look at that guidance and think about how they want to quantify that or qualify that. And there's a lot of different ways to get there. Possibly they're going to look at your bank statements. Possibly they're going to maybe just do a verbal where you describe the situation. That's going to be fine with them. So it is going to vary. I think it's also fair to assume you'll probably have to submit paperwork somewhere along the line. Okay. So usually what that means is I will have to give you a sample of my mortgage statement. Your mortgage statement would show that you were in a forbearance, or your mortgage statement would show how many payments you've missed. So actually, if you kind of get that mortgage statement every month and you shove it in a box, you don't really think about it, and you've been in trouble for a while, you're going to want to get out those documents, because probably somebody's going to ask for the documents somewhere along the line here, okay, as you're going through the process. In addition to this, all this money for these half programs, the states also are still working through CARES Act money. So back in 2020, I think November or December, CARES Act was passed, and there was a lot of money in that also, again, towards home preservation. And so you could have small local programs in your area. So for instance, the United Way, I've seen in different cities, does a cash assistance program, or some other nonprofit. So there's quite a bit of resources out there, and I thought it'd be very helpful for the people listening and for everybody here on the call to be able to sort of discuss assistance and these assistance programs and their thoughts about that. I have been working with different states on this and trying to help them just do the best possible job they can. And I know Courtney has also been speaking with states and a lot of different business partners. So I'm going to hand off the call to Courtney and let her share some of her insights around half.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me for my first ring around the rosy. My name is Courtney. I'm a consumer gal at heart, and I've managed loss mitigation operations at a lot of big banks and servicers. And I think that the most important thing for consumers to understand about half, to highlight what Eric said, is that there's really 50 states and 50 programs. So for every state and every locality, there's going to be some sort of half program at the state level. And then there's all sorts of other programs depending upon where you are and how these dollars are being allocated, all the way down to the city. So I live right near the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit has programs specific for consumers who have all of the different, problems that, Eric highlighted. And I think that you shouldn't ever exclude yourself because you don't think that your problem is big enough. Anything related to a COVID-19 hardship, the standard is very low in the biggest scheme of the world, right? You should always make the effort to apply for these things. And then also from a consumer perspective, when I really think about HAF funds is one, you've got to find your program. Your housing finance agency of your state should be able to direct you to the program. A lot of them have materials on their websites or will be having materials on their websites as they come out. You can also go to free resources to see what is available to you. One good free resource is literally auntbertha.com. If you go to www.auntbertha.com, I cannot think of a better name, you can pop in your zip code, and by your zip code, it'll give you information about free resources. If you don't see your state HAF program, keep looking, right? If you need assistance, you need to apply for assistance. And you shouldn't not apply for any reason. There's a lot of money available. The rules this time around, because of COVID-19 and because people were so uniformly impacted. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. Modern technology. Because people were impacted so universally, all throughout our country, all of the standards have changed. And yeah, sometimes you have to prove financial hardship for this program or that program, but not for this program or that program, if you follow my lead. So if you need help, the absolute worst thing that you can do is sit overwhelmed and do nothing. If you do nothing, that is where you get yourself into trouble. So in addition to half and half related programs, I would be a bore to not also highlight that you have to drain your mortgage servicer, and all my mortgage servicing friends will love this. You have to drain your mortgage servicer of all available options there, right? You don't have to pick. This is like the power of the and conversation. It is not, I applied for loss mitigation with my servicer, that's enough. No, it's I applied for loss mitigation with my servicer, and I applied for a state program with the state of Michigan, and I live in the city of Detroit, so I applied for the Detroit program too. And if you get money from all of the programs, wahoo America, right? Take it. Get yourself back on your feet because there are so many different solutions. Here's the other thing. Your mortgage servicer needs to be the expert on the loss mitigation or assistance programs that they can offer. Your mortgage servicer is not the decision maker with regard to the state programs, the county programs, or the city programs. Let me say that again. Your mortgage servicer is not the decision maker with the state programs. Everybody has their own programs, and everybody with their own programs is the decision maker for their programs. It would have been wonderful if there could have been a giant federal funnel for every single human on the planet. Unfortunately, that's not what we have. So what that does is it puts the onus on you as the consumer, right, to apply for all of the places. But heck, if it were me, I would get some popcorn, I would get a Coca-Cola, and I would sit down on a Saturday. I'd go to auntbertha.com and I would apply for every single available solution, and don't worry about it, right? All of the programs are there. There's more programs available to humans now than there ever has been in the history of housing finance. Literally the only way you lose is if you do not apply for them. Period. That's it. And you can win in all of the buckets. So everybody wins. So remember, it's the power of the and do all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So if you get the money from the state, your servicer will work it out and they will make sure that you have the fullest extent of the protections of the law. But don't just pick one. Never just one. Pick all.
Okay, you had also mentioned United Way as well.
Eric, do you have more information on that?
Yep. So what I would do, the way I would think about that is there's hundreds of United Way agencies across the country. So I would simply type in the name of whatever's close to you. So with the example of Detroit, I would literally type in Detroit plus United Way plus mortgage assistance and see what comes up. That's literally what I would do in a Google search. Keep it really simple. Because I'll bet there's maybe 3 different programs at 3 different United Ways in Detroit. So they're not uniform. They do their own thing. They get their own funding and they create their own programs. So
now, I think we had also, in part of our conversation offline, are most of these funds, these are not necessarily checks that will go to the consumer. This is money that will be sent directly to the servicer to help cure any forbearance. Or now, let me ask you this, and we didn't rehearse this, so I hope I don't catch anybody off guard. But like, what if I went into a workout, like I didn't know about this, and my servicer just said, "We're putting you into this program to reinstate your mortgage." That could either be, luckily a lot of the Fannie and Freddie and even the FHA with the partial claims, they were putting them into a deferment program. Could this money be applied towards that deferred amount, do you know, so that it's reduced, so that when they do sell or refinance, that it's less than what it was originally? Do you have any idea about that?
it would depend, and I'm sorry for that very loosey-goosey answer, but it really would depend on the situation with the customer. Because some of the products are complete and final. You can't go back and really change the product or change the solution. Like once you've helped a borrower and once you've sort of created a affordable payment plan based upon their income and a lot of other factors, you don't unwind the clock again. You don't want to go back and unwind the clock again.
Right.
You're sort of happy, right? You got what you wanted. You wanted an affordable payment, and we were able to work that out. So I think do one thing at a time. But to Courtney's point, if you're still in a forbearance and you're not sure, you have absolutely nothing to lose by reaching out and applying.
That's still just under 2 million people, right? It's like 1.6, 1.7 million people are still in forbearance. Now we didn't really address the rental help, but Courtney, do you know if Aunt Bertha helps with those kinds of assistance funds, or is that primarily for mortgage assistance?
So AuntBertha.com is just one of a variety of resources, that is available to look at it. And I wouldn't always consider it as complete, but that's everything. It's food banks. It's every type of financial assistance that you would look for. And so I would hope also that, rental programs and things like that, come up there. I think that, to go back to, high school, civil understanding, if it were me, I would look in my city, my county, my parish, if you're in Louisiana, my state, and then also my servicer, right? And so basically draw little bitty circles and bigger circles around yourself, right? In each of those locations, you should be able to find some sort of assistance. And then on top of it, other things like the United Way, right? Other things like, private organizations that are willing to help consumers. Also, Scott, regarding the question about, well, can this be used for this, that, and the other? This money really is to help people get back on their feet so that they can make a regular monthly mortgage payment. And so when I say apply for all, even if that money goes to the servicer will work it out. You don't even have to tell the servicer, well, hold on, there might be money coming from none of that, right? Get the money to the servicer. It will be allocated for your loan, and your servicer will get you back on your feet. That they're responsible to do that. Unlike in the last recession, I'm a big proponent of the mortgage servicer. Mortgage servicers, stuff always rolls downhill. And mortgage servicing is the most highly regulated environment in the country. Anybody who's listening to this can literally go start a nuclear power plant and build nuclear bombs, and you would be regulated less than mortgage servicers are now. They are there. They want to help you. They are available. Yes, we had the industry had a rough month last year when COVID happened and everyone was calling the mortgage servicers at the same time. But all of these humans at these servicers have been spending the last year getting ready for right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there is no harm in dipping your ladle in all of the drums, and get the money to the servicer, yes. And the servicer is responsible for working that out. It won't yield in a check to you in the mail for 20 grand, but it will get you in a place where you can have a more affordable, mortgage payment, or that you're current, right? And you don't have to catch up, from the time period during COVID when you were unable to make your payment for one reason or another.
Hey, Scott, it's Phil. I thought maybe I'd interject just a couple of quick things here. This has been really very important and interesting. And thank you to Eric and Courtney for guiding us through that. Just a simple reminder for any consumer or non-mortgage industry professional listening to this. Generally speaking, a mortgage servicer is the person that the borrower sends their payments to every month. So if you're wondering what that definition is, it's generally speaking the person to whom you make your payments. Second thing is, I wanted to clarify something that Courtney said. You can have a Coca-Cola or a 7-Up or a Pepsi. We're really, you don't have to have just Coca-Cola.
We're soda agnostic.
Dr. Pepper.
Right. We'll take anything. But Courtney's point and Eric's point about this was for the consumer to be relentless, because there are sources of funding, and don't give up. Be relentless. Just continue the pursuit. And if there's anything we can do to help, we'll do everything we can to give you guidance and assistance in that process.
So as sort of a recommendation, if you're a consumer listening to this, Eric, you said this very well, type in the name of your city and then maybe the letters HAF, and then maybe even write out homeownership, homeowner assistance fund, and just see what comes up. I don't recall seeing a single internet ad or TV commercial or radio commercial promoting where to go to get these assistance funds. And I think that's kind of why we pose this as it's missing, but it's really not missing. It's an elephant hiding behind a tree. You just have to look behind the right tree and you're going to notice there's an outline of an elephant behind it potentially. Like the funds are out there, but you have to go out there and find them. Like Brian and myself, and Josh isn't here today, we're in the mortgage industry. Any of our friends that are in the real estate space that are watching this, learn about these programs in your community, any professional or business, and then get this out to your clients, right? Go to your clients that are homeowners, your real estate agent, your people you sold homes to. If you're a mortgage company, go to the people you've done mortgages for. Find these programs, put together a list of these resources in your community, and push it out there to all of your past clients. And you're going to look like a hero. So we're just about on the bottom of the hour. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on this?
Scott, one more quick thing. It's Phil again. I just, I think it is important that Scott or that Eric and Courtney highlighted that primarily these funds were designed to assist the consumers that are in forbearance, but many of these funds that have been made available are for consumers in distress. It doesn't necessarily have to be a consumer in forbearance. So just make sure that, if you are in a distress loan situation, do the outreach, because it's critically important, and the money has been appropriated to devise some soft landing solutions for these consumers in distress. And
I think in 2 weeks, we're going to expand this conversation even a little bit further. right, Phil? And we're gonna kind of talk about some of the money that was distributed specifically to the cities across America and how to access some of that. And I think that's rental. That also includes home buyer assistance, I believe, and things like that. As always, we are shamelessly plugging America's Homeowner Alliance. One of the reasons we're doing this is because it's the only trade association out there that's specifically designed for homeowners and homeownership. And this is free. They don't sell anything. We're not sharing your information. This is really to help you contribute your voice. When Phil says we need to go put some pressure on these politicians, I need signatures, you're going to get an email from my AHA saying, hey, will you add your voice? We're trying to make it less expensive for you to buy a home, or we're trying not to help it. We're trying to keep the policy, let the policymakers know what we on the streets are concerned about. Because they don't always know. So it's a great cause. It's 100% free. myaha.com/join. Courtney and Eric, thank you so much for your work out there and being on the streets and fighting for consumers. And then coming back here and doing your best to translate it to us norms that don't always understand what goes on in the background. You are both the great and wonderful Wizards of Oz. And we appreciate you bringing this to our attention and helping everybody out with this conversation. So with that, thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Well done, Eric. Well done, Courtney.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.